Well, hello, everybody. My name is Chris Barton.
And I'm Jennifer Ziegler.
And this is Ernie. And two of us are authors of books for young readers, as is our guest, Emma Otheguy. Hello, Emma.
Hi, everyone.
And Jenny and I have this series. This one's dedicated to where we talk with folks like Emma about the dedications in their books. And so Emma is here with us today to talk about her new book, A SLED for GABO.
Emma, would you mind reading aloud the dedication?
Sure. The dedication to A SLED for GABO it's in Spanish, so I'll read it in Spanish and then in English. It is, para el verdadero Gabo y la verdadera Isa, ahijado querido y sobrinita amada, bilingües y bellos. So that is for the real Gabo and the real Isa, beloved godson and beloved niece, bilingual and beautiful.
Beautiful.
And so why is this book dedicated to the people that it's dedicated to?
Yeah, so as you have heard, Gabo and Isa are my niece and nephew. Gabo is also my godson. Mm-hmm. And I wrote this book in many ways because of their big personalities. And it is about our family. So Gabo is somebody who is wonderful and who can be a little bit shy and a little bit persnickety and maybe has a little bit of a difficult time in new situations. And Isa is somebody who always knows exactly what to do and has a lot of energy and a lot of... she's what we call a mandona. She's somebody who bosses people around, who knows what to do all the time, who always has the right idea. So they have these great personalities that lend themselves to picture books, but also because A SLED for GABO is a story about a Caribbean family and a snow day. So in my family, my parents both grew up in Cuba. They lived in the Northeast for a very, very, very long time before they had kids, I should mention. But they lived in the city with a bunch of other, Latino immigrants from different parts of the world. And so I think when they moved to the suburbs, when I was a kid, they were just like, suddenly snow days were a part of their lives and they had no idea. I mean, so we never had, all of these kids in the suburbs would have like these elaborate toboggans and snowsuits that they would like get new from LL Bean, and my parents had never heard of it. I mean, they didn't know what any of these stores were, any of this stuff was. And so we were always trying to like figure it out, like layering our socks. Like we were always, I think to our neighbors, we must have seemed really comedic because my parents were just so hopeless and yet also lovely. So in the book, we have dulce de leche, which is something that you make by boiling condensed milk. That's what my mom would always do when there was a snow day. She would boil condensed milk to make dulce de leche because we were at home and we had time. But, I didn't know until I was like a teenager that you're supposed to make hot chocolate on snow days because my parents just didn't know. It wasn't a part of our culture. So I think that Gabo is somebody who has inherited all of this snow day related chaos but I think feels it very strongly. I mean, he's 6 years old right now, so maybe he could probably tell us for himself. But so I wrote this book for him and as sort of a celebration of the way in which in our culture we experience snow days, and especially about the ways in which Gabo, the fictional character, who's different from the real kid, right, uses his linguistic ability and his cultural ability to make friends in this new community and to solve a problem. So it's not just that in spite of being a Latino, in spite of speaking Spanish, he's able to overcome and make friends in this new community. It's actually because of that. We see him using Spanish to make friends. We see him using these sweet Latin American treats to make friends. So that's the reason for the dedication, is just because, I love Gabo and I love Isa. And I also love the way in the book, the Isa character comes in and sort of saves the day for Gabo, who's getting a little bit glum and sad, and Isa comes in with a lot of energy. And my hope is that Gabo is a fairly common nickname for the name Gabriel, for the name Gabriel, made famous by the very famous Latin American author Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So Gabo is a name that to many people from Latin America is familiar, but to many people in the United States is not. So my hope is that, my sister always tells the story of when Gabo went to kindergarten, everybody was like, what's your name? Like Gabo, like Gabo? Like they were so like, what is your name? And so I've been telling everybody, my hope is that when Gabo goes to college and he opens the door to his dorm room and shakes his roommate's hand and says, "Hi, I'm Gabo," his roommate says, "Oh, like a sled for Gabo."
Very much like the sled for Gabo.
So,
I wanted to ask, you have such a beautifully crafted dedication. It goes beyond just, for Gabo and Isa. It's just lovely and so well written. And I was curious as to how you found the right words and, just how you crafted that.
yeah, I mean, in that dedication, I thought a lot about the line breaks because there were sort of three different ideas that I wanted to get across, right? Both that this is for the real Gabo and the real Isa, how much, my enormous love for them as my godson and my niece, but then also the idea of bilingual being something that is beautiful in a world in which bilingualism is sometimes seen as a deficit, as something holding kids back. I really wanted to make sure that in that dedication, I tried through the book to convey how being bilingual and speaking another language can actually be helpful in a social situation. We have so much, when you look at the way we talk about social and emotional learning, it's like being multicultural is like the worst thing that can happen to a kid. It's sort of always assumed that it's going to be a problem. And so I really wanted a book where that was a benefit, something that really helped a kid make friends. And so I wanted that sentiment reflected in the dedication. So I separated those out with line breaks. And I think my poor editor, I think I maybe emailed her like 6 different times to be like, make sure they put the line breaks in. Don't let them put it all in one line. But it was also nerve-wracking for me because my first language is Spanish. It's the language I speak with my parents. It's the language I speak with aunts, uncles, and certainly my grandparents when I was a kid, when they were alive. But, I never went to primary or secondary school in a Spanish-speaking institution. I did some graduate work, that was Spanish, but writing in Spanish is always very nerve-wracking to me. So I only do it in dedications because the editor of my first book, when I was worried about, the Spanish dedication, and I was like asking to have the Spanish copy editor look at it because I was so nervous. And she said to me, "Emma, it's the dedication. If you dedicated it to the man on the moon, I wouldn't bat an eye. The Spanish doesn't have to be, grammatically and, spelling does not have to be perfect." And so I've always kept that in mind and saved my Spanish writing for the dedication. But I really appreciate you bringing that up because it was like, this is my little teeny tiny Spanish, haiku that I'm writing.